All right, hey guys, it's been a long time, but I had a new game to make a video for, and I felt like doing it, so here it is. This is going to be a pretty long game, and which means it's going to be an even longer video. But I promise this game is great, so bear with me, and we'll go through it. Now, this is a game during EU Masters between Finland and Portugal, and Finland will be on the bottom, and Portugal will be on top. For the majority of the game, we're mostly going to be talking about Finland's side, but there will be some points to note from Portugal's side as well. So, since it's going to be long, let's just get into it. And so, as you can see here, before I forgot to mention this, but as you can see, it's going to be Zoe Vi versus Timo Ezreal Freljord with Frostbites. And that so the idea is that Timo Vi, for the most part, is going to be trying to kill the Teemo deck with their burn as well as their units, while the Teemo deck is obviously going to be trying to stall the game out and win off of either shrooms or running the opponent out of cards. Those are going to be the main goals of the two players, because Zoe Vi, all of their heal comes from star shaping essentially, and which is not efficient. It's not the way you want to heal. It's a lot of mana for 5 health. That is not how you beat Teemo. You beat it by beating their face in. And so in this position, we see that Zoe, Zoe is always going to trade favorably. And now this Mystic Shot is good. And the reason it's good is because we don't want to give them a free Troll Chant. It gives them 3 free phase damage, and Teemo likes every point of damage they can get for free. We don't want to give them the open attack, and if we Mystic Shot, they get the Troll Chant. We don't need. There's no reason to give them so many options, which is why you just Mystic Shot right away, prevent the Troll Chant, make them work for a good Troll Chant, and then get on the board. Now here, Portugal goes out of their way and plays Static Shock. They don't really have a better option, and that's really good for Zoe because you paid 1 mana and you won 3 mana. Yes, you do go down a card because they drew a card while you only got a super cool star chart, but in this game, you don't really care about your value particularly. In fact, the super cool star chart is pretty useless. I would even recommend discarding it because against Foundry decks, you're going to be looking to empty your hand, and you don't want to be paying 2 mana to check for something you're going to play. You're paying a 2 mana premium on a card, whereas you want to be getting your hand out for as cheap as possible and use those draws to run them over before the draws kill you with shrooms. So in this position, this is perfectly fine. This, I mean, you play it because you want to beat their face in. Sump Dredgers is actually also a very, very good option. It's true that the whole spring, whatever it's called, where you heal your unit, is not a valuable card generation. Neither is Super Cool Star Chart. Both of them are essentially just discard fodder. You're not really going to be looking to play the Super Cool Star Chart later anyway, most likely. However, it is of note that if your opponent doesn't play Foundry, then your hand is a little bit suspicious. You don't have good tempo for the next several turns. It's mostly Get Excited, so I can completely understand why they went for the Spring Guardian, where, if your opponent doesn't play Foundry, then there's a good chance you don't want to discard your Super Star Chart and rather play it over the next few turns. And also, you only lose 1 damage for this level of security. I completely support this. And now they have to decide between open attacking and playing the Sump Dredger. Now, playing the Sump Dredger can be punished by 2 things. The 2 things are Ice Veil Archer, as well as Peddler plus Brittle Steel. Both of them would be really bad for Finland. Ice Veil Archer would be okay if you had a 1 mana Thermo Beam to support it, but you don't. So you end up with 2 options that are pretty bad for you. And so they go for the open attack, which is completely valid. I support this. So now here, from Portugal's position, you never play the Teemo here. You always play Teemo at the start of next turn, because if they have Thermo Beam, you want to make it difficult for them to Thermo Beam efficiently. They would instantly 1 mana Thermal Beam your Teemo, whereas if you play it open next turn, it's impossible for them to 1 mana Thermal Beam your Teemo unless they tank the attack from Teemo first. Play out all of their cards, spend all of their mana until they're down to 1 mana, and then Thermal Beam. So that's why in these positions you always Teemo or play your unit at the start of next turn if the thermal beam would be very clean removal for it. So because Portugal passed, it does mean that because Finland passed, it does mean that Portugal does not have to attack right away. However, none of their development matters before attacking because most of your units, except for Teemo and Ezreal, your elusives, are meant for blocking, especially in this matchup. You don't actually care about forcing trades because you're not going to be trying to kill them with those units of yours unless you have more units than your opponent, which is not only very difficult to do, but also definitely not true in this game. Now, Finland has the option of playing their Get Excited to kill the Teemo. Discarding is not a problem. You have plenty of cards that you have no plans to play in the near future. Now, the problem with that is that it's not only inefficient, but you want to save your Get Excited for the Nexus. Now, the reason that the benefits of playing the Get Excited is that, well, even if you tank the damage, you're still going to have to get rid of the Teemo somehow, and that somehow is most probably going to be because they have to block. And in that case, not only might Teemo survive, but, well, there's nothing for you to gain from it. You're basically giving up the same things that you're gaining, whereas and on top of it, you're also tanking the damage and putting 5 shrooms in your deck. And in this game, you know that every time they put in 5 shrooms, it's probably going to be equal to at least 2 or 3 damage long term, especially since you don't have efficient healing. So completely respect the Get Excited. You don't have a good answer for it in your hand. Just you don't really want to play Vi either if you can avoid it. And the other thing is that you also, if you're playing decks like these, always remember that you never want to do this before they attack. If you're not afraid of them developing more units in a way that actually negatively affects you or hard passing the turn, you always wait until they attack to do it, because if you get excited and then they play a new one, then you just wasted your Get Excited. Because, you know, you could have saved it for 2 turns from now and then seen what better options you had instead. Sorry, I missed that just now. What did they just discard? The Vi. So discarding the Vi is perfectly fine. The Vi is pretty much the same as any other unit. It's never gonna realistically connect because not only does it have Challenger, but it's gonna get blocked no matter what. It's the same as having a 3/3 or a 4/3 because when you're attacking like this, the damage you deal is based on your lowest attack units, not your highest attack units, because they can always block the highest attack unit. Unless you have a way to get around their blockers, your damage is essentially your units minus the enemy units, and you take that number of your lowest attack units. That's the maximum expected damage you can deal. Which is why keeping Vi isn't really worthwhile. It does have 4 health and tough, yes, but 3 health is already pretty much difficult for them to deal. Now, the open attack is perfectly good here because they don't have any good blocks. And if you develop or anything, again, if they develop literally anything, is the same as stunning your 4/3 because they can block your highest attack unit, and you don't have something that is even equal to your Sun Dredger. So in this position, open attacking is absolutely the correct way to go. So now in this position, you have 3 Tri-Beams in hand. You do not have the attack token next turn. And so what you should definitely be doing is trying to not only empty your hand, but playing the, your 3 mana cards is definitely a priority. And Solari Priestess is not very good here. It's not. However, if possible, you would love to discard it. However, you do want to play 3 mana Thermal Beam. So I think that there's 2 good options, or in theory, and that would be to play Super Cool Starcher into a Charger and then play 3 mana Thermal Beam. This is not guaranteed, so I don't condone this. You have a high chance of not getting it, and if you get Equinox, you don't want to play. You want to save it for Puffcat Peddler. And so, oh, by the way, that's probably the main reason they've been keeping the Super Cool Starcher is because you want Equinox from it, but it's also only like a 1/3 chance, so it's kind of unreliable. But it's still better than Solari Priestess, where you're gonna get a card you can't really play. But I think you want to go for the Solari Priestess just because it's a 3-mana card that lets you play your 3-mana Thermal Beam. It gives your Tri-Beams 2 stacks. You can dump them next turn on whatever they develop, and then have a pretty solid board going into turn 8 when you attack. And also you can, for example, play a Get Excited on something they develop, like a Peddler, and then play your Tri-Beam or whatever. You've got plenty of options. I think you want to be holding your Tri-Beams for critical turns, and just because you do not have the attack token next turn, I don't think this counts as a critical turn. You cannot set up the open attack with this. This is not, in my opinion, not a good Tri-Beam. I think even getting like a Trickster from the Super Cool Star Chart is acceptable. Even just playing Super Cool Star Chart missing and then playing 4-mana Thermal Beam is, me, like a bit better. But if you end up at 4-mana, I might lean towards just not playing the Thermal Beam at all, and next turn playing double Tri-Beam, even leaving the Chumpon for that turn, just so you can make your turn more explosive and set up your open attack more decisively. So I just think you should be leaving your Tri-Beams for turn 7, or something to set up your attacks, rather than something that goes into the opponent's attack turn. I don't like Solari Priestess, don't get me wrong. I don't like it, but I think you definitely should be looking to play probably Super Cool Star Chart or something to set up your Thermal Beam. Now again, like this is he's playing, he's trying to kill the Teemo, which is understandable. But I mean, at this point you're hard committing, right? Once you finish playing this turn, if your opponent survives your setup, you're in a really bad position. And here, I mean, this is definitely strong, but if your opponent can just play 2 units and block, then you're kind of in a weak position, and you don't really have any steam going forward. You're just going to be waiting to die, basically, unless your opponent bricks. But that said, if your opponent does not get a good reply, this should be decisive, getting double Tri-Beam. But again, if you have so many Tri-Beams, you may as well just play your 3-mana cards, get all 3 Tri-Beams plus 2 plus 3 mana, and then play them over turn 7 and turn 8 before attacking. You don't have to open attack, because you can develop, force your opponent to develop, and then Tri-Beam, which is worth like 8 mana worth of tempo, and then attack, where your opponent won't have enough mana to react. So you don't have to set up open attacks. All you have to do is make your turn explosive, set up that critical turn. And here, actually, this is the worst possible scenario for them. Getting Solitary Monk could not have been worse. And I'm not gonna suggest that this is the reason you stack Tri-Beam. I will never say that. But as a pure coincidence, just incidentally, should they have further stacked it, this would have been impossible. And now this is really, really bad for Finland. Their chances of winning just went down by like 80%. They were probably like 90% to win, and now they're like 60%, 40% maybe even. And again, like all that things I said before, they were still winning. Like they were very favored in the position, but I just think that it's much safer to just bide your time a little bit more on your Tri-Beams, and then because you have all of turn 7 and 8 to develop them, and Portugal only has so much mana to react with. So what you can do is you can it's like holding even more spell mana, because your turn is going to be worth so much more mana than theirs, as even more so if you set it up further beforehand. Okay, so that's the loss of a Hush. So now we're entering the most interesting part of the game, where things get even crazier, because up to this point, Finland was just dominating the board. They were everything was going their way. Almost, not quite, but almost. Their options were not that diverse or flexible, with triple Get Excited and Solari Priestess and stuff like that. But now it's a little bit more. We're getting into crunch time now, and here the thing is, you definitely the reason they're going for these banks is because, well, you have to have an answer for peddlers. If they drop their peddlers right now, you do not have the aggression to kill them before peddler kills you. Peddlers will end you, and so they're really looking for the equinoxes now. And so with the option of a moon silver, may as well take it. They have to empty their hand one way or another. It's better to reduce the cost of your cards overall by 1 than to increase it if you need to empty your hand. And now in this position, Moonglow, pretty useless. Equinox, definitely the way to go. It's what you're looking for. You need answer for Peddler. So this is basically just as -1 Peddler. One less problem. And now in this position, obviously you just 3 mana Thermal Beam the Chumpwump. If they have Troll Chant, who cares? You let them Troll Chant, you only get half of Troll Chant's value. You basically, right? You get the 2 health and no attack because, look, they don't have the attack token. What's Troll Chant going to do? And yes, maybe you'll lose a bit of attack power, but I mean, then you just don't attack. You can bide your time a little bit more, set up the bigger attack. There's no reason to have to sacrifice so much tempo and resources just to push damage a little bit sooner if it doesn't increase your overall and total amount of damage that you're going to deal. So I honestly don't understand this. I think you definitely should hit the Chumpwump. It's the instinctive play, it's the normal play, and I also, even after thinking about it, I think it is the correct play to give them a Troll Chant here, and I think you're okay with that Troll. And now, like, look, now that you already played 2 of your 3 Tribeams, you're playing all of your 3 mana cards, and it's just, you just don't have the explosiveness anymore. Of course, it still would have been fine if he didn't low roll the Solitary Monk. All of this only was a problem, or almost only was a problem, because they got unlucky with the Solitary Monk. But, you know, it's still, like, there's no reason to be less dominating than you could be. Dominant, that's the word. Now, Mystic Shot, very standard, nothing to talk about here. And obviously, Finland has to play something. If you don't play anything, Portugal will be very happy to accept your pass. Sorry. Sorry about that. Apparently we got some mail. So let's proceed. So Mountain go into Ezreal. And here, final Tri-Beam is forced out. I mean, what else are you going to do? It's 5 damage. 4 damage, actually. And now in this position, here they make a very nice play. Tri-Beam does level up when you put on the stack. So that's why Get Excited is effectively +4 damage. Or I should say, it effectively deals 3 damage because this +1 damage to the Tri-Beam as well. So this allows them to kill the Ezreal without needing 4 mana. Very nice play. And now, in these positions, the only punish for developing is basically Iceveil Archer at this point, which is why you always develop, because they only have 1 Iceveil Archer left, so it's whatever. The thing is, you don't have that many things on the stack, whereas you know your opponent wants to spend mana for their skills on the stack. So if they react to your development by developing on their own as well, then that's good for you, because that means they have less mana on the stack. So essentially, no matter what, they have 10 mana worth, whereas if you open attack, you do not have 10 mana worth of a turn. Whereas even if you do open attack, your opponent will still have all of be able to spend their mana effectively. So here's a Peddler, and now the thing, here they make a very good decision. I actually missed this. I wouldn't have seen it, probably. Or at least not without thinking for a while. But basically, normally when you see a peddler, you would instantly Equinox it. However, right now they have a massive board advantage, and they have so they have the pressure, a massive board advantage, and threaten a lot of damage. And that's why in this position they actually open hushed and then just attacked. And the benefit of this is that now, not only do you prevent the Puffcat Peddler from shuffling like 6-9 shrooms before it blocks and maybe dies, if it does die, it also means that, well, you get to try to kill it for free, basically, or rather for hush, where it basically it's the best hush you're gonna get, because the hush will be effective essentially to kill it. You don't have to worry about it doing work next turn. So this is a very nice hush play, completely approved, especially since they also have 2 puff caps from Chump Wump. And now in this, actually, I really don't like that harsh runs. Really do not. I think that was terrible. Now, first of all, I understand why they used it on Solitary Monk over the Goat. I'm pretty sure it was because they're okay with giving them gems, right? The idea is that if we can kill your, if we can defend your units, then we're gonna block your units, whether it's flash freeze, blocking, whatever. The gems don't matter. It just clunks up your hand. You have to spend more mana to empty your hand and actually get new cards. Take whatever gems you want. However, I do not approve of using the harsh runs over just Troll Chant. Like, compared to Troll Chant, this is +1 Nexus health for 4 mana. 4 mana for 1 health. Now, yes, it also does give your Puffcat Peddler 1 health, which makes it tiny bit more difficult to remove. But I mean, your opponent, I can't remember how many Mystic Shots there were, but basically, I mean, at this point, if your Puffcat Peddler dies, it dies. But if they try to kill it on the stack, then you always, I don't know, I guess you have like Flash Freeze or something. You're not going to use Flash Freeze. You're going to let it die. But like, if it's going to die, it's going to die. You don't spend 4 mana for 1 health on your Nexus and your Peddler. If they have Get Excited or Mystic Shot, to them, to them, the discard on Mystic Shot at this point doesn't matter. So it's just a difference of 1 damage, right? You know, if they use Mystic Shot instead of Get Excited, it doesn't matter to them. It's not that big of a. You definitely play Troll Chant over Harsh Runs here, and then after that, depending on how much mana your opponent has, you can even develop Ezreal, set up a nice open attack, because the only way to get rid of your Ezreal is slow speed. That said, that technically won't work at the moment because your opponent has a Solitary Monk, but you can set up a nice open Shrooms, get the nice free 2 face damage, which you wouldn't get otherwise because they might hush it. You know, you don't know what might happen, but you can play your, or actually even ignoring all of that, you can just play your 2 puff caps, ignore, like, just say no Peddler, I don't need the +6, and then play your Veteran Investigator, get an extra. You just have so many options, right? You need to be mana efficient here. Just that's the key idea. You have to be mana efficient. So obviously, you know, if they don't kill your Puffcat Peddler, you're happy to just, you know, play Investigator or whatever, and then hold your Puff. Don't. But that's another story. So here, I think you just play one of the Puff Caps. I mean, you're at 8 cards. Okay, so we just overdraw a card for no reason. I don't know why we didn't play a Puff Cap. Like, I mean, you get 1 extra damage with Ezreal if you save it, but you also lose a card. Not only do you lose a card, but you lose the chance to make them draw extra Shrooms. You don't know that if it's going to go down to the bottom of their deck. So every turn you pass is basically -1 Shroom they would have drawn from per Shroud. Whatever that thing is called. Not sure what it's called. Anyways, now we go back to Finland's position. And here, just develop, get as wide a board as possible, make it as difficult as possible for them to deal with your units. And then here, honestly, this is the second Ezreal, if I remember. Yeah, the first one got Tri-Beam plus Get Excited. So here, this is the second Ezreal. Even just 7 mana Thermal Beam is kind of tempting. I'm not sure. I actually am perfectly okay with their line. With the Hush, you're definitely looking to just Hush and like open Hush and attack next turn. So Mystic Shot plus Spring Guardian to develop and reduce their blockers, very good. I completely approve. And then next you just open Hush and attack. That's the plan from this position. Or even the position when you had Vi in hand, you just develop, keep their board down, set up a nice open, and open Hush. That's just the plan. Because well, there's so many reasons, but first of all, your opponent is going to have to play a lot of spells and mana in order to survive the attack, which also means if they also save the Ezreal, that takes 1 extra spell and some extra mana, and it means they have to tank extra face damage for it, and it means that none of those get Ezreal triggers as well, so you get all of that without taking like 6 face damage. And also, your units are probably not even gonna die, so they'll be there for your next attack as well, as a bonus. Wait. Why is that a fleeting Mystic Shot? Did I miss something? Wait. No. It's not fleeting. Alright, so move forward a bit. Spring Guardian. Okay, so everything happened exactly as normal. And yeah. Nothing strange. And now you've set up the open Hush attack. Oh, yep, okay. That's exactly what happened. And now okay, so from Portugal's position. Now look at this Troll Champ. Look, we had Harsh Runes and Troll Champ, right? We used Harsh Runes back then, and we used Troll Chant now. Imagine this was Harsh Runes. It would be the same amount of extra face damage. It would save you +1 face damage, just like before. So in terms of Nexus health, no difference. Total equality, except instead of giving you 1 health on your Peddler, it would give you 4 health on your 0 health Ezreal. Right? You would have a 2/4 Ezreal instead of a dead Ezreal, compared to having a 3/3 Peddler over a 3/2 Peddler. Imagine we use that 4 mana now. And back then we used it to shuffle in Shrooms. I mean, no matter how you look at it, the math adds up. This is just better. Also, they did overdraw. They could have got 2 extra face damage by playing the Brittle Steel. If they wanted. They probably you would save it to save face damage, obviously. But just saying. You would have an extra Brittle Steel. That never hurt me. So here, this Peddler is fine. If possible, you would like to play double Peddler, Foundry, plus 0 mana Thermal Beam. However, your first Peddler gets Equinox, and now in this position, your goal is to play Peddler and Foundry. However, if you play either of them, you're left with 3 mana, and then you can just play the second one next turn. Have 3, using the same mana, except not giving your opponent as many ways of spending their mana. So in this position, you definitely play Foundry. You do not play the Peddler. And the reason for that is because if you play the Peddler, you're not going to get any Peddler procs right away, so playing it earlier has no benefit. Playing Foundry this turn means that it triggers 1 more turn, so you know that you want to play Foundry this turn. You get more out of it if you play this turn instead of next turn. Peddler is not the case. So you play the Foundry, you see what your opponent does. If they tap out of mana magically, you can play your Peddler and 0 mana Thermal. But if they don't, you are happy to end the round. In this position, you should definitely play the Foundry first. And now, it gives our opponent the chance to very cleanly spend his mana because he knows he's seen everything that that is threatening and everything that he wants to do, which is get rid of the Peddler. So now he plays Star Shaping for face health, and then has 3 mana for a clean Thermal Beam on the Peddler. Whereas if he had the other Peddler, or whereas if he played the Foundry first, he would be able to play Peddler in the next turn instead, and he would probably have an extra Brittle Steel for an extra 3 mushrooms as a bonus. So now there's no Peddlers. So now your methods of winning are even more slim. And now in this position in particular, this is a special position. If you notice, well, you won't notice because they don't actually. Let me see if I can. Okay, well, I'll just tell you because I know the result of the game. Both players have 3 cards in their deck. 4 cards in their deck. No. Finland has 3 cards in their deck. And Portugal has 5 cards in their deck. And should the game go through, both players will draw 4 cards next turn. And that means that Portugal wins. And so, that is why Portugal, or Finland, plays... Portugal passes. That's why Portugal passes, and that's the reason why Finland plays Vi's Vault Breaker, so that they shuffle an extra card and do not die. Now, there's a Vi in the deck, and Portugal will die next turn. So, what do? They draw a card to try to improve their chances. Also, they send the burn to face because, well, hopefully the shrooms will kill them. But you also know how many shrooms are in their deck, and right now there's not enough shrooms. If I remember correctly, there is 5 shrooms? I think there's 5 shrooms right now. Not sure. But I mean, if you had the other Peddler, you would have you would definitely be able to put in at least 3. Every single spell is plus 3 shrooms. And every single shroom is plus 1 damage. Which means it would be incredibly difficult for Finland to survive until they can attack, should they have saved the Peddler until this turn. Like, imagine they had Peddler this turn and they just dumped Peddler and then dumped a shit ton of spells. Just play the spells, play, Brittle Steel, Flash Freeze, whatever. Just dump shrooms in this position, they would win. They would win. From the shrooms. You don't even have to worry about your own deck size. Well, you have to worry a little. Don't go below your opponent's number, if possible. So now, Portugal goes down to 4 cards. At the start of next turn, they will have 0 cards. And of course, they need to play Veteran Investigator so that the opponent dies, because they're not going to win if the opponent... And at this point, both players have 3 cards in their deck, and Finland does not have enough shrooms in their deck. And so, as you can see, it ends up in a tie, because both players have the same number of cards in their deck. But there was many scenarios where a small difference would have decided the game. One of them being saving the Peddler for 1 extra turn. Just playing the Foundry first, and then saving your Peddler for the start of next turn when you have 13 mana instead of 3. You don't lose anything. Another scenario would be if our boys stacked Tribeam a little bit. Now, granted, don't use confirmation bias. It's true that they only got Solitary Monk because they didn't stack it. But even if they didn't get Solitary Monk, which they probably would have won, their chances would have been better if they stacked it first, because they had 2 full turns to play it for their insane amount of tempo, and they would have the mana to spend on this. So that would have been better. If they used Troll Chant instead of Harsh Winds that turn, and having Troll Chant, having Harsh Winds for later to save the Ezreal, Portugal would have won. And let me think. I think there was a number of other scenarios, but I mean, if you've made it this far in the video, you know them. I'm not gonna try searching through the video again for them, because that would be a waste of everyone's time. If you have made it this far, thank you very much for making it this far. You are an excellent viewer. Well, I'm not an excellent content creator because, well, I make a video every 2 weeks apparently. So hopefully I'll make some more in the near future. We'll see how things go. Depends mostly if I feel like it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.